There are two different things between being able to do math, being able to understand what you're doing. Some people can do only, they don't understand. But okay, I can get A can now. But some people, they need to understand. And I will feel that the students should understand. When they understand, they can do well, then that's when they really learn the subject.
Hey everyone, welcome to our brand new episode of our brand new podcast called the Parent Teacher Podcast. Of course, we have Mr. Gary Ang here, which is the main host, and my name is Elias. I am the co-host of the podcast. Right, so for those of you who are listening for the first time, this whole podcast is basically, as the name speaks for itself, Parent Teacher Podcast, where Gary shares his experience both as a parent and also a teacher for over 2 decades. Am I right, Gary?
Yes, probably a little bit more, but yeah.
All right, so Gary, maybe for our first time listeners, right, perhaps you could share your story and how did you actually come about creating NumberSkill Learning Centre?
Okay, actually, I've been teaching for a very, very long time, since actually I was a student when I was in the army. So during that time, because, we need extra pocket money, I don't come from a rich family, you see. So need extra pocket money, I went on to work part-time. I take up some tuition assignment. So that's how I all get started. And I realized that, yeah, I quite enjoy it, like helping students who are struggling. It seems like they were like me last time, So being able to help them overcome all the issues that they're facing in school, especially when it comes to math. And then when I was in university, we usually have a little bit more time. So I actually went on to teach in a tuition center. So that was when I I start to gain experience teaching a bigger group of students because of circumstances, forced because of probably need a bit more pocket money during that time. So that's how it all gets started. And I enjoy it a lot. So much so that my weekends are all spent at the tuition center. Ever since I graduated, it becomes a natural progression. So I went for a few job interviews, but then I realized that I probably don't want to be desk bound for 8 to 5, 8 to 5. So I just continue taking more tuition assignment and basically just continue what I was doing when I was studying. It all went on like this, and I got more and more students. Eventually, I got my own place. I started in my place just for conducting my classes. So again, as usual, the classes grow bigger and bigger, and suddenly the room becomes not so conducive for a bigger class. So that was when I decided that okay, let's move out of the comfort zone and let's get a real center set up. So that is how NumberSkill is so-called born. It wasn't like a one day then suddenly appears kind of a thing. It was a more of like a progression and slowly get out of it, and it becomes what we are today. So yeah, that's the backstory of how it all started.
Fantastic. I remember you once told me, right, during secondary school, you didn't fare too well for your math, right? And then your friend introduced you to tuition, and then your cousin stepped forward and pay. Perhaps you could share more about the story on that part and also basically how it got you into teaching.
Like I shared earlier on, that I don't come from well-to-do family, so everything was on our own. Didn't have the luxury of going for extra tuition classes as well. So it was, remember quite vividly, it was Sec 2. So when I was in Sec 2, then I had a math test that come back really quite disastrous. It was like, I think 14%, 14%. So that was like, okay, something is pretty bad. And the thing about my parents is that they're not educated people, but they recognize education. So they didn't like tiger mom, tiger dad hawk over me to force me to study. They literally leave me on my own, and they also cannot afford like extra tuition classes or enrichment classes for me during that time. So that was when I realized I was in deep trouble because I wasn't doing quite well for my school, and I don't know how else I can find help. So my best friend in Sec 2, he was like, hey, you know what? Why don't you join me for my tuition class? And that's how I get started. So, but then the fees was an issue because I could quite afford the fees. I have a very kind cousin who dotes on me a lot. So she stepped in and she said that, okay, don't worry about it. You just go. So she handles the tuition fee during that time. So I went. So it was quite, I would say it's a life-changing experience, really, because without that start, I wouldn't have started to get done well for my studies. I started with math, and then it started off when I go Sec 3, it will be A math, E math. So I started scoring A's and A1s. And again, the people I met with in the tuition classes, they are all also high achiever, and then that also spurred me on to work hard on my other subjects. So if you're asking me like, hey, when I was in Sec 2, what's my vision in life? Literally none, zero, no vision. I just, I'll go to school, pass everything and come back. I mean, despite the fact that I'm always on my own and there's nobody to bug me over doing homework and study for exams and what, I never fail a single test in primary school. I also never study very hard, to be honest. Yeah, I just passed everything. So my vision was quite simple. I just pass everything, get out of school, go to work, and start making some money. That kind of experience changed when I make new friends who are scoring well. Of course, I have a lot to thank to my tutor as well. So he literally turned my life around because I started to do well. Then I started with A math, started to do well, top in class all the time. And then it spread to other subjects that, I never thought of going to university in Singapore. I never thought of going to JC. But that was what happened after that. That's how it all got started. And I became, of course, I was inspired. But more importantly, it was like, I believe that with the correct guidance and the correct motivation, people like me can be turned around. 14%, I don't get to see this kind of results, thankfully, for my students. Yeah, so you can turn such a result around with the right guidance and the right motivation. So I become a believer in that. And I see in myself, when I started teaching my students, that was sort of my core goal, you see, to try to replicate what was done to me the last time. And, I see my student in front of me like, I hate math. And I try to do what I experienced before to them. That is what got me going until today.
Okay, perfect. So you mentioned try to replicate what made you interested. Was there any particular teaching method or example that your tutor used to got you from somebody who disliked math to somebody who's actually interested in math after that?
Definitely there is difference because math is math. Math doesn't change, but it's the teacher. Because, in school, the teachers try and teach you the same thing. But then this other teacher trying to teach you the same thing, but somehow it clicks. So I would say that is the teacher-student chemistry, number one. Number two is also the style. You see, the style of the teacher. And of course, what I come to realize as I learn more math as I grow older as well, because I actually learned a lot of math from a lot of teachers in my life. So along the way, I figured out that one of the best way to learn a subject like math is to really understand what is it about. Because some people got the wrong idea that, math is just formula. You put this number into this slot, put that number into that slot, and then you get your answer. True enough, some of the topics, it does work this way. You literally don't need to think, and you can switch off your brain and get the correct answer. And sadly, in school today, there are some school teachers who teach like that also. They will be like, hey, guys, this is the formula. Okay, you see, step 1, do this, step 2, do that, okay, do okay. So everybody is like robots. They just do. So they don't see the idea behind, the beauty in it. They don't understand what they're doing and they don't care. You see? So the teacher doesn't bring out the richness of what this is about, like, what they are doing and where the formula come from. Okay, now where the formula come from, sometimes it's quite difficult to explain, but at different age group. But the point is that it is this idea of being able to understand the purpose of okay, I do this, I can get that done, that kind of stuff. And for people like me, like young minds, we try to think about, I'm not young minds now, last time, yeah, we try to get things done. So of course we were very happy when we got answers correct, but I wanted more, like, so what is this all about? What's the point? For a very long time on my secondary school journey, even up to JC times, we learned a lot of math during that period of time. No teachers actually bother to explain to us the purpose of learning this and that. Of course, we get some application questions here and there, but those are just questions. Just motivation is just to solve questions. So it was went on to higher mathematics, and I learned more from some of the professors that I encountered in my life. And that is when I realized, oh my God, actually, whatever I was learning in Sec 4 or Sec 3 actually makes sense. And actually, there is a purpose in real life. That kind of realization. I was like, wow, if only I can if only I knew it then, like when I was much younger, then I think I'll be more motivated, to not only be able to solve the question and do well in the exam, but actually I will feel that it is meaningful. Whatever we're doing is a little bit more meaningful. I mean, there are a lot of examples, but for example, just logarithm, for example, right? A lot of people learn logarithms, basically everything formula, just do. And then you do 10 times, you probably get the hang of it. So nobody understands it. And the very sad truth is I didn't understand it even after A level. I mean, I got A, but I don't understand what it's all about. So it was until not only I went for other, higher mathematics classes, I also read a lot on my own. So I read a lot of books. And that's when I realized, hey, actually, there's a lot of reasoning behind, how your logarithm can help you handle big numbers into very, very small numbers, that kind of stuff. I was like, oh yeah, because during that time we don't have computers. So things like that, I feel, yeah, of course, there will be a difference when the students suddenly improve, because whatever they're doing in school now, or the teacher is not able to communicate to them in such an inspiring way. So when, like me, I encountered my tutor the last time, he was the one that enabled me to do well, able to do my homework, able to pass my test and then pass well. And so I was like, oh, okay, then get more motivated, then we can do more. So if you ask me for like, is there any particular kind of difference kind of thing, I would say that yes, we should try to understand. Besides just doing, there are two different things between being able to do math, being able to understand what you're doing. Some people can do only, they don't understand. But okay, I can get A can now. But some people, they need to understand. And I would feel that the students should understand. When they understand, they can do well, then that's when they really learn the subject. The other one is, in order for them to understand, you need to let them understand the beauty as well as the purpose. What's the point? What's the point of this? Like, 1 + 1 = 2. So why do I need that in my life? You see? So when they have all this come in, that's when it becomes a platform for them to improve their result a lot faster.
Yeah, so it's kind of like getting them interested by letting them know the purpose behind the math rather than just like blindly memorize all the formulas.
That's what I always try to do in class, to let them understand, to let them see the purpose. But the truth be told, and also the sad truth, is that some students also tell me the same thing, and that is this: math is fun if you don't need to go for exam. The reality is that at the end of the day, we are all practical, you see. We have to be practical because they're all going for exams and they have to score. And in order to score, they have to be able to do. So whether you understand, someone who understand and do, someone who don't understand and also can do, you see? So if you think about it, students will take the easy way out and you can't blame them, like so many things to do nowadays.
But for those that actually like put in the effort to understand, I'm also sure that they're able to retain the knowledge a lot longer, right?
Yes, they're able to retain the knowledge. Also, sometimes it's quite happy when some of the former students, they come back and then they tell me, Mr. I was like studying this in my uni, and I thought of you, you taught me this the last time. Probability, they are in finance and whatnot. So they'll say like, the last time when you talked to me about the something about standard deviation, the stock market, and oh my God. Yeah. So it gives me the kind of, I do feel happy like, when former students come and share with me the story right now, like, whatever they're doing now, whether they're in engineering or in finance or whatever, they go like, yeah, that's why we learn math for, So I always tell them, you are not training to be a teacher. So we sometimes have to be practical. We are training to be a student, a good student. So you just make sure you pass your exam properly. At the same time, you get some knowledge besides passing exam.
Nice. I think this is a perfect segue to our next topic, because at the moment of recording at this time, I would say that most students, or almost all the students, already have ended their end of year exams and took back their results already.
Yes and no. Yes, some of them took back the results. Most of them finished their exams because the O-level kids ongoing. And then the A-level is looming. So I do still have students still very stressed up.
And perhaps could you share, for those who got back the results already, right? How was it?
Depend on level also. The usual trend is the same, and that is like the longer they work with me, the better the result. Meaning to say, the more predictable. So, for example, if we just take our my youngest batch of students, Set 1. So, Set 1 students, they don't, because I don't teach primary school at all. So, I never teach them at all until beginning of this year. So, it was so those of them who started in the beginning of the year until today, the results come back so good. The best I heard was yesterday, 96% top in class.
out of your whole batch of Sec 1, do you know how many A1s?
Not everybody took back the results yet. How many A1s are? I would say mostly are A1s. I have two, who is like 1 mark away from A1. So they were like very upset with themselves, like, oh, just 1 mark. And the 1, 2 marks, they lost those kind of presentation accuracy marks. So in my eyes, they are A1. They didn't manage to score that benchmark to reach there. So there's only one that is not A. Only one so far. Yeah, so far. So some of them are getting the results end of this week. We shall see. So I mean, I'm quite hopeful because this entire batch of Set 1, they've been with me since the beginning of the year. Of course, there'll be in between, some of them will join in between, a bit later after the June, that kind of stuff. So the runway that they have with me, the time that they work with me is obviously shorter. So I have one particular student like that, also A1. 75%. So 75%. So she was also very happy about the A1. So of course, further analysis is important now. So I always collect back their exam scripts and then to look through what are the gaps that they actually have. Like sometimes because the paper can be quite tricky, the paper can be quite hard. To be fair, almost everybody can't get it right. Then to be fair, that is a hard paper. Yeah. So we need to be mindful of that analysis as well. Otherwise, you don't want to kill their enthusiasm also.
Furthermore, after you score A1, doesn't mean that you can let your guard down and then like don't think about math again. But
true. That's why I keep telling them your exam over doesn't mean your life is your math is over. Graduated already, is it?
after exam only, put the guard down and forget about it.
So I already told them the plan that I had for them for the next coming weeks. And in fact, last weekend, we already kickstart our program already. So we're starting to learn new stuff, which is Sec 2 content started. So yes, you call us kiasu. To some extent, I have to admit, but definitely useful because the earlier they get in touch with such content, will be ahead of their school when the school teach them. So they will go to school understanding what the teacher is talking about, what the teacher is teaching them. Even if the teacher is a bad communicator, they will be able to do their work and pass the test. So it will be a feel-good thing and that will spur them on. And I think that is very useful. And when it comes to tests, whatnot, we have time for revision. Yeah, so that's a very useful period during this period of time. And I think they buy in because they saw the result. They were like, okay, so when I taught them, guys, in Sec 2, your algebra is going to get a lot worse. But don't worry, you're on good foundation. So come on, let's just face it. So yeah, they were all serious about learning new stuff. So yeah, that's the kind of a spirit we want to have in our class. Confidence and as well as the spirit, the spirit of, let's do it, come on.
I mean, you being a teacher for over 20 plus years, right? Perhaps you could share with the listeners or those who are watching, is there anything to expect in 2025 for both parents and students?
This kind of question, how am I going to answer? What I mean is, you mean my own students, right?
Yes.
What to expect in 2025? Okay, also depends on the age group. Because if you are Sec 1 going to Sec 2, the expectation is, of course, we try to maintain. We should be able to maintain. And Sec 2 is very important. Okay, every year is important because every year there's something important about their content. So, of course, they will be learning new stuff, tougher stuff. For Sec 1 to Sec 2, Sec 2 will be building foundation for the algebra part. So they will spend a lot of weeks, a lot of maybe even up to months, just drilling, doing the algebra. And that one is quite hard for them to understand the purpose because there is like, why do we need to learn factorization? What's the purpose in life? Why do we need to do this factorization in life? So no, you don't need to do factorization in life. But the algebra manipulation, the ability to manipulate your algebra, to do factorization, do expansion properly, is like your alphabet in English. Without the alphabet, you can't form words. You can't do other things. You can't do beautiful things like poem. You need words. So your algebra skill is like your vocabulary for you to do other things in your math. No choice. It's a bit boring. Just like when you first learn A to Z, you just have to memorize A to Z. You have no idea what you memorize for. But then, of course, there's to form words. So Sec 2, that is what core of it. Of course, they will learn a bit more things like trigonometry and stuff. What to, of course, expect your math to get harder. That's what I always tell them. Your math will only get harder. It will not get easier one, obviously. So your math can't get easier. So then, if you're talking about older kids like Sec 3 going to Sec 4, then they will have a very critical year next year, which is going for O-level. Then, of course, the stress, they won't feel it until they start to get back the results. And the system currently is such that there isn't a lot of exams for them. So when there's no checkpoint, then they can have complacency that set in. Then it may just snowball until too much to cover. So I will have to warn them, not just the students, the parents as well, that students going for critical exams like Sec 3 going to Sec 4, J1 going to J2, these are the group of students that they need to be aware that the current system doesn't provide a lot of feedback, because the tests are called WA now, very small, 1-2 topics. So you can do quite well because it's like 1-2 topics, and it's the most recent topic. So can do quite well, then it gives them the false sense of security. It's like, okay, what? I get A this time, right? Yeah, not bad, what? Then the next WA, I still get A. Okay, that's not too bad. You see, for Sec 4s, they officially don't have mid exam. But then again, depend on what school you come from. Some schools, they call it WA2, but the WA2 is like a full exam. So some schools, they do it, but they don't label it mid exam because it's banned now. But some schools, they really follow the guideline. They don't call it exam. They cannot have exam. Depend on some schools. Some schools, they do treat it like exam. Then they really drill them because it'll be like the entire syllabus in 2 hours, 15 minutes, that kind of thing. Then that's when they get the real feedback. And they're like, oh, I can do two topics at a time. But if you ask me to do the entire syllabus from Sec 1 to Sec 4 in that 2 hours,
Stamina also.
Stamina, they get overwhelmed. And the result come back isn't good. But by then, you're talking about June, July. June is holiday gone. July come back. How many more weeks we have? The trend that we are seeing, and it is scary. It is scary because I have Sec 4 kids. This year, Sec 4, joining in the middle of the year because they know that they messed up. And it is very tough on them. Very, very tough. JC2 also have, but it all depends on what kind of help they need, you see, because some students are actually foundation is not too bad, so they really just need polishing and as well as like consistent revision. So they will do quite well. They'll fly when they join the class. But some students, they didn't know they have all these problems. They didn't know what they didn't know, you see. So then that group of students will be definitely more stressed. And not only they stress, people like us helping them are also equally stressed. So if you tell me what message I have for 2025 is the biggest message will be for this group of students and parents, and that is, don't be complacent by the WA and try to understand the kind of system that we're in right now. Don't be blinded by that, and then when you figure out that there's a problem, it may be just some people, they can handle last minute, but some people just can't, and it'll be quite upsetting.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents also told us, right? Like in WA, they thought that the child was doing well, and then once end of year come, oh, different. By the time they realize, it's too late already.
Yeah, I mean, when you are like Sec 1 exam, then you realize, cannot. It's not too late because Sec 1 you are it's still not too late because Sec 3 is a different game.
Yep.
But we do have students who join in Sec 3 and yet their Sec 2 work is really bad. Then they need to learn double, you see, because they can't proceed with the Sec 3 content if they can't get their algebra right. The kind of chicken egg problem lah. So I would say that any message to any students or parents is like, first really try to find out whether you have a problem. And the moment you recognize that, oh shoot, I have a problem, and whatever I'm doing now, whether you're trying on your own, whether you're relying on a school teacher to help you, if it's not working, you don't expect a different result to come in. Let me try one more year. Hello, one more year. Then next year will be even harder. So seek help as soon as you need, not just for math, for anything. Yeah, I mean, if you need help, go and find help before you make it worse for yourself. So that will be something that everybody needs to be mindful of.
All right, okay. I think we come to the end of the Parent Teacher Podcast by NumberSkill. So again, this is our very first episode of this brand new podcast. Stay tuned because we will be launching more episodes along the weeks. If you want to ask Gary any questions, feel free to comment down below or just DM us on Instagram, TikTok as well.
I mean, listeners can actually just get in touch with us, and that will provide us with also new content to talk about.
We want to talk about what people want to hear. So
yes.
Okay, that will be all. Okay, thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.